Good morning. Just for you guys, I'm gonna make some granola bars. Well, not just for you, my kids are gonna eat them. But I thought I would share. This is a really fast and easy and simple snack that you can make. And honestly, I love that, of course, my computer's doing updates as I'm doing this. And I can't see the recipe. This is something that you honestly can do really, really fast. And at least you know what is going into the food that you're eating. You can make them as healthy as you want and as treats and sweets as you want. So mine's gonna kind of be a little bit of a blend of both, okay? So if you are able to hop on, I'm not sure how many of you will be able to hop on and make sure you say hi and you can feel free to ask questions. If you didn't see the post earlier on, today is the last day for ordering. You have until midnight tonight. So thank you to everyone that has already placed orders. And yeah, so I'm doing baked granola bars. It's all gonna get done in this guy. This is our snack bar maker. It got released, I think it was in the summer, and honestly, it's a lifesaver. So it is silicone, okay? It's like bendable. And then, so this can go into the oven and into your fridge and freezer. And then this is the lid that you can cover up. You can use it for storage, or it's great to pop it. Some of the recipes will call for them to pop into the freezer. So you can pop that onto it and yeah, keep them good. Okay, so the snack bar maker, it won't come with it, but I can email you a recipe booklet. I believe it has 7 different recipes for it. But there's so many other things that you can do with it. I actually have a client that has requested one. She's gonna make bars of soap in this. I really can't wait to see how they turn out. So she's gonna make soap, but that got me thinking, okay, you could make soap in them. You could do bath bars, I guess, maybe like bath bombs, but have them be more bars because of the shape of it, because it's silicone and they easily pop out. Okay, so let's get to business. So this calls for 1.5 cups of old-fashioned oats. Okay, I have searched for old-fashioned oats. If you guys, like I went to Fortino's to see if they had them, and they didn't. I've checked some other places, I can't find them. So I literally bought the longest time-wise. These say large flake oats in 4 to 5 minutes. I mean, you could use steel cut. I have done steel cut actually. I've toasted them before and then put them in. It just makes them chewier. So just using the measure all cup. Oops, oh gosh. Well, that didn't work. There we go. I'm using the dry side of it. I would say with this too, you do want to be fairly accurate with your measurement, because if you add too much, then it just becomes a little bit of a pain in the butt to fill this. So 1.5 cups. It does call for some melted butter. So it calls for 2 tablespoons. So I'm going to kind of eyeball it a bit. 2 tablespoons of melted butter. So here's a tip when you are reading recipes. Hold on. When you're reading a recipe and it calls for things that are like prepared. So if the recipe says 2 tablespoons of melted butter, it means you're measuring the melted butter. If it says 2 tablespoons of butter, comma, melted, it means in solid form, measure out 2 tablespoons and then melt. Oh my gosh, speak Nicole. And then melt it, okay? It's the same as like if it says chopped. So 1 cup of walnuts, comma, chopped, scoop out your walnuts to 1 cup, then chop them. If it calls for 1 cup of chopped walnuts, then it's the walnuts chopped and then you measure them. I know it sounds kind of silly, but it will yield a completely different thing. Like chopped walnuts, if you have a cup of chopped walnuts, there's way more walnuts in that than if it's 1 cup of walnuts chopped, okay? So this calls for 2 tablespoons of butter, of melted butter. So it's butter that's been melted and then measured. Okay, so 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. So these are the stackable measuring spoons. I don't think I showed them the other night. See how they've got a flat bottom? That's so you can measure them and they actually will stand up, okay? And they're clear, so you know that you got a real reading. You can see if there's any kind of air pockets in there, okay? When you're measuring out dry ingredients, you wanna make sure that it's leveled flat, it's not heaping. This is literally, you dump it. You dump it in, you mix it, and it's done. It calls for 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, which is quite a bit of sugar. I'm kind of known for doing a little less sugar in most of my recipes. Yeah, that's how I cook. I would recommend you try it as the recipe calls it for, and then alter your sugar as needed. That's just what I do. 1/4 cup. So I'm pushing this up to 1/4. If you haven't seen, I know I did a post yesterday about the measure all cup, but if it is this way, then we're reading liquid, okay? So you'll be filling it up here and you'll measure. So we've got cups, ounces, it even has tablespoons and teaspoons on here. If you're doing for your dry solids, or I use this a lot for sticky solids. You read the red. Sorry, I'm having a lot of hard time with my words today. So I need 1/4 cup. So I'm measuring it to here, 1/4 cup of honey or agave. So that's one of the other reasons why I cut back on the brown sugar, is that the honey is acting as a binder. You could use other things like agave, you could use brown rice syrup. It depends on what you have in your house, and it depends on your budget, and it depends on how chewy you want them to be. Agave syrup, or not agave, brown rice, wow, everything's put away. Brown rice syrup, I find will harden it a lot. It'll make it a lot harder. Agave and honey will allow it to bend a little bit more. From a budget standpoint, brown rice syrup is way more expensive as well. So it depends on what you want, and I believe it's lower on the glycemic index too. So it just depends on what your priorities are. Okay, my butter, I will measure it. 1, 2. I mean, if we added more butter, it would just mean it wouldn't hold. It would be, if I put more in it, it would be chewier. Okay, we're gonna mix that together. So I've got the oats, baking soda, honey, brown sugar, melted butter, and then this is where the fun comes. You get to pick what you want to add into this. So this is the baked version. The book also has a no-bake version. We really take nothing, I always say that, nothing. My husband will say, it's not nothing, it takes something. Okay, so it takes a little something. But this is a really easy recipe if you do have kids that want to be involved in the kitchen. This is great for them because it's really just a dump. It doesn't take, you can be creative with it. Take some measurements, and they have fun with it. So today I'm gonna add a little, so this isn't really healthy. I'm gonna add some cocoa to it. The recipe says to add in up to a cup of add-ins. So this one today, I'm gonna do cocoa, chocolate chips, and I'm gonna do some walnuts. These will be well gone before the kids need to go back to school on Monday. So I'm gonna do some with nuts. Here's where, forgot to grab a cup out. Here's where the creativity starts, okay? That's 1/4 cup, 1/2 cup, and then I'm gonna do nuts. If I really wanted to get a little bit of fancy, toast these walnuts beforehand, but I'm being a little bit lazy today, so I'm not going to toast them. But I did do a snack bar maker workshop not too long ago, and it was awesome to see the creativity that people had. Oops. Like I had score, so people did score. What were they? They were trying to make like caramels. So they did score for like the caramelly chocolate chips. Some did like, I really love this one, dark chocolate with dried cranberries and coconut. That's a yummy one. There's so many different things that you can put in this. Pretzels were really, like you could crush up pretzels, you could crush up different kinds of cereal and put it in. I'm gonna chop these pretty fine so that they drop down into there really easily. Okay. I do tend to prefer my food chopper for nuts. So if I'm trying to chop something that's harder and needs more of a direct hit, I use my food chopper more for it rather than the Manu food processor. Now with that said, the Manu food processor totally works for it. I think that's just a habit of mine. I had the food chopper before I had the Manu food processor. So I'll make sure I have everything in here. So my oven just beeped. It's preheated to 350. And these guys are gonna bake for 14 to 16 minutes. So all I've done is mix them all in. I don't know if you know, well, I'm trying to think of what I used the other night. Can you see it in there? Lighting's not the best. I use my stainless steel mixing bowls for like everything. Like they are our go-to bowls. I'm sure you probably have a go-to bowl as well, but the stainless steel ones are ours. I use them for all of our baking, all of our cooking, and they're just, you know, they're the top. If I open up this drawer here, these doors, I have two pull-outs, and they're just right there top left, and I use them non-stop. So the recipe itself, it actually calls for the large scoop to be used. Now, for something this small, if you had the mini chocolate chips, it would probably work a little bit better. I don't have them. But I'm just going to show you what I'm doing is I'm using actually the small scoop to scoop these in. It was one of my customers, actually one of a past consultant that sent me the message. She's like, I like the small scoop better for these. She's very precise and very accurate. So she uses 3 scoops and it fits across. The recipe, it says to call it, you can get the set, which is the small, it also comes with a mini nylon serving spatula, which is the same color as this. It's really cute. I don't know if mine's in here. It might be, hold on, let me see if I can find it. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And it fits the actual, sorry, I've got a notification, perfectly. Have a look. It goes like this and you can press it all down. And then once it's baked, it actually, you can kind of reshape them a little bit more once they've baked and they've hardened. They'll come out still soft, and then you can kind of shape them a little bit more. Another fast trick that I've done before is I take a piece of cellophane and I put it across, and then I take the baker's roller or a rolling pin and I roll it across the top too, and that really compacts it. It really does depend on what your add-ins or what your mix-ins are, will kind of dictate how they bake up. And so chunks like the chocolate chips, they'll melt, but while I'm trying to form them here, they'll be a bit of a pain in the butt because they're a bit bigger. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna load them into the oven, and when they come out, I will let them, I'm actually gonna put the lid on them, and I'm gonna pop them into my freezer for about 15 minutes, and then they'll be hardened. And then I store everything, I'll show you, all of our food. This was an investment that I did, but I now store all of our leftovers and stuff go into these glass containers. So these are the leak-proof rectangular containers. They come in all different shapes or all different sizes. They're all rectangular or square depending on the capacity. But I love having glass containers in our fridge because I can see what's in them. But the other thing that I love about this, I've done a test. I've put liquid in this, flipped it over, and shaken it, and nothing comes out. So I know if something were to fall out of the fridge, or if I'm going to someone's house and I've stored things in this, it's not going to be all over the bag or all over the floor in my car. And I love them too because they're glass. So let's say I had something in there and I wanted to reheat it and I was being lazy and didn't want to move it to a stone. I can put this base into the oven, or I can put it into a microwave. So when I go and teach some days, or if Sean's out for work, then we can easily reheat our food, and then I'm not dirtying another dish. Again, like I said, I'm all about efficiency. So there you have it. I will take some pictures and you can see what they look like in the very end. I hope that helped. Have a great day.